In this English lesson, I wanted to help you learn the English verb to double check. When you double check something, it means you check it and then you check it again. If you don't know what it means to check something, it means to make sure it's there or to make sure it's in a certain place. Here's a great example. When you pack to go on a trip, you put everything in a suitcase, and then when you're done packing, it's good to double check. It's good to open the suitcase again and make sure that your toothbrush and your deodorant and your underwear is all in the suitcase. I don't know why I use that example, but you should make sure you bring all that stuff. So to double check means to check again. It means to make sure that everything is where it needs to be before you go on a trip or before you do something else. The other phrase I wanted to teach you today is the phrase a reality check. Now, a reality check is when something happens and it makes you realize that maybe things are a certain way and you thought they were a different way. I better think of a good example. Think of a sports team that thinks they are the best. Maybe at the beginning of the season, your favorite sports team thinks they are the best, and then they play a team that's really weak and they lose. That would be a reality check for them. It would make them realize that even though they thought they were the best, they're not. It's definitely a reality check. So whenever something happens that reminds you of reality, that is something we would call a reality check. So to review, when you double check something, it means you check again. I often, when I go on a long trip, I will check the oil in the van, and then just to be sure, I'll check again. So I'll double check the next day to make sure the oil in the van isn't low. And usually I'll make sure it's gassed up as well. And a reality check is whenever something happens that makes you realize again that not everything is the way you think it is. But hey, let's look at a comment from a previous video. This comment is from Alexi. Hi Bob, thank you. Finally it happened. Today I did not make a single mistake while transcribing the first part of the lesson. The trickiest sentence was at the 52-second mark. My students were so much work today because it doesn't look grammatically correct. And this pause, because I paused when I said that. So I have a hunch you wanted to say something different about your students that day. And my response, you are correct about the pause. I changed what I was going to say mid-sentence because I was going to say something a bit more harsh. I was going to say something mean about my students. Congratulations on getting things right and for noticing my speech pattern change very advanced. So yeah, good work, Alexi. That's awesome. Yeah, as I make these videos, I talk, and sometimes as I'm talking, I have to think about what I'm going to say, and sometimes I have to change what I'm going to say while I'm talking. You just experience that right there. I don't have a script when I make these videos. I just come outside, I teach the two phrases, and then for the last bit, I just talk. And so yeah, I'm not reading anything. I don't have it scripted. I just come up with it on the fly, off the top of my head. There's another phrase for you. But hey, anyways, we are walking in a typical Canadian subdivision. These are houses that are actually much nicer than what Jen and I could afford. We're in a little bit of a pricier part of town, I think. These houses are quite big. Let me show you this one. I think this is where, I'm just going to guess, but this is where doctors and dentists and lawyers live, I think. But I'll give you a little view and then I'll wrap this video up. So there you go, a little bit of a view of some of the nicer places in town. See you in a couple days with another lesson. Bye.